Today I have 5 different cards to share using the Tenderness roses from Penny Black. Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and this set of roses from Penny Black is awesome. I thought I'd share 5 different cards in my Gimme 5 series today, and what I like to do, I don't usually share this kind of information, but I thought I'd just show you my plan for these cards today. If I have time, I like to draw up my designs in advance. I find that it just saves me so much time in the long run thinking about where to put sentiments and what sort of style of card to do and how they're all going to fit together. And usually, or more often than not, I just wing it. But with a group of 5 cards, I do like to plan them out, and it does save me a heap of time. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually stamping out a bunch of the Tenderness flowers. I've used some Nina cardstock, it's the 80 pound, and I stamped them out with some onyx black, which I regretted because I wanted these flowers to be a nice bright red. I was kind of thinking of a watercolory look, and that's why I used the onyx, but nothing that I had would watercolor well on the paper. My Prismacolors, I just wasn't happy with the brightness of the color that I was going for. So in the end, what I did was grab my Tombow markers. I haven't used these in a while, and they are bright. I'll give them that. The thing that I couldn't do with these colors was blend them on the Nina, so I just went with it. I added like a base color of the lighter color red, and then I added the dark color just in portions to make it almost look like a shadow, and then I didn't bother with any blending at all. I did the same with the leaves. I just used 2 different colors of green and just added some really simple lines almost, just to add a suggestion of a shadow and to give it a little bit of depth. I'll list the colors that I've used at my blog, and the link for that will be in the description below. This set of stamps, it's only a very small set, but I've seen some amazing cards already using this stamp set. So if you want more inspiration for it, head over to the Penny Black blog, and that link will be below as well. Now this also has a coordinating set of dies, so I did actually die cut all my flowers out using those dies. It didn't take very long at all because I could do each bunch of flowers in one pass of the machine. I decided to stamp out some of the cute Penny Black images to go on my cards, and this is the 2 hedgehogs here are from the set called Hedgy Love, and this little one here with the balloon, I actually had to stamp it a half of the image, like the hedgehog portion of the image in Memento, so I could colour it with my Copics, and the balloon portion with my onyx black, so that I could colour it with the Tombow. And initially I was going to cut the top of the balloon off, but you'll notice that I didn't in the end, so I wasn't too worried about the colouring, and I didn't like how it blended, but actually once it had been left for a little while on the paper, it blended a little bit better on its own as it dried. I have a cute little mouse, and this is from the Critter Celebration set, and I'm only going to be using the mouse portion, not the flower here, and you'll see why in a minute. The other image is this cute bear, and it's from a Big Hug set, and I did colour him. I didn't bother colouring the whole bear in, and I did use the coordinating dies to cut all of these out except for the mouse, because I only needed a portion of the mouse. I did some pretty simple Copic colouring. I didn't go overboard. I added some shading. The lids are off to the side, and I think because they're fairly clean and simple designs that it was enough, but you could certainly go for it and just colour these little images to your heart's content. They are so cute. You may notice that they're not stamped particularly well. I did Used some Nina 80-pound cardstock here, and I stamped them in Memento Tuxedo Black. And I wasn't too worried about that because I actually left all my stamps in my Misty tool so that I could restamp the images after. And I do that quite often, and it just sharpens up the edges of the images. For this particular stamped image here, I used the Banner Blooms stamp set, and I'm colouring with my Copics onto the coloured cardstock. This is like a nice bright teal coloured cardstock. And then once I'd done some basic shading on that, I restamped it with the Onyx Black as well. And then cut them all out. I have a piece of that teal cardstock. It's cut the same size as the card front. I'm going to start putting my cards together very soon. This is some gouache paint. I was a bit surprised actually about how much of the paint that I needed to mix. I didn't have anywhere near enough. I wanted some washy wide lines, and I just used a wide paintbrush to paint those on top of this piece of cardstock and then set it aside to dry. It didn't take very long at all to dry. You could also hit it with a heat tool, and that would speed things up as well. Alright, so now I'm putting my cards together. Like I said, I coloured a stack of these flowers. I've got a piece of the blue cardstock here and added some of the flowers across the whole front of the card. I used my powder tool here just to deactivate the sticky on those flowers. Not very well, I might add, before I cut off the edges. I've stamped a sentiment and white heat embossed that, and that's from the Kind Words stamp set, and then just cut that out, popped all that up on the front of a square card. The finished size of that card is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And I think this is probably my favourite card today. Although I quite like this sweet bear. How I use the flower on this one is as a flower in the bear's fur. I was going to say hair, but that's not right. Fur. And it's a big flower, I know it is. But why not go out with a bang and have a big flower in your hair? Look, I was really struggling with the sentiment today, so I accidentally got a stack of glue on my black speech bubble here, which is from the chat bubble set, and added the hugs sentiment. So to get over that, I just simply die cut another sentiment bubble and attach the hugs, and then pop that on top of the one that I damaged. So I used the Stitches of Love to cut the rectangle out, and now I'm just using that center portion rather than throw it away on my third card maybe. Added a sentiment from the Only You stamp set, popped up the hedgie and one of the flowers in the bunch of flowers, and the Thinking Of came from that same sentiment set. And that meant that I wasn't kind of wasting that middle portion of the die cut. My next card is a really cute one too, I thought. I used a sentiment here from the Hug Me stamp set, and I added some of the roses across the bottom of the piece of teal cardstock here, just with some tape runner, and then I just cut the excess away. And I did double up the cardstock for my image because I wanted to actually pop that up on the front of the card, and I didn't want it to be loose. That's not the right word. Squished. I didn't want it to get squished if I posted it. So that's just going to give it a little bit more stability if I post it. So the Banner Blooms, I added a sentiment from the Smiling stamp set, embossed that in white, doubled that up on some white cardstock again. This is where I added that little mouse, and I thought it'd look really cute sitting over the top of the banner. And then I layered up the flowers just using some tape runner and some foam dots or foam squares behind there. And this is basically using up the rest of my flowers that I had left coloured ready to go, and portions thereof. So let's see. So this is my original planning. So the first card I did add the sentiment in the center. This is actually the last card I made, and the mouse has kind of moved over a little bit to the left, right, instead of the left. The bear one stayed much the same. This little hedgehog, I moved the sentiment up to the center part, and this last one here pretty much stayed the same, although I did have a white border around. So everything actually, for a change, kind of worked out how I planned. So if you liked today's video, please click on the thumbs up button to let me know that you liked it, and if you haven't already, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. I look forward to seeing you again here real soon. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.